Well, hi there, I'm Noah Bradley. This is Handmade House TV. On today's episode, I have another Bootstrap Building Academy module to share with you. It's going to be a good one, so stay tuned. Well, all right, welcome back to Handmade House TV. On today's module, I wanted to talk to you a bit about heavy equipment. And if you notice behind me today, I'm standing on my lake property. And if you've been following along, you realize that in the past I purchased a couple of large quantities of large stones, and they came in with two huge piles, and I needed to spread them out in order to see what I had in the piles, see if there's any discoveries in there, but mainly just to take a good inventory of these large stones that I have to work with. And also I had some digging to do. I had to change the angle of my retaining wall out front as I changed the orientation of my future home. And you can see the pad area where I'm going to build the future home. And you can see how I laid the rocks out not to interfere with the construction of the house. And then I changed the angle of my house a little bit, and so I had to change the angle of the retaining wall that I'm going to build first. In order to create a nice little seine area, a nice little yard area out front, a place that I can enjoy the lake from, to be outside, and a place that's nice to have during the construction process of the home as well. And down there I'm going to build I've got to build two sheds. Actually, one of them that's one down there is going to be a writer's cabin, and I've got to build another shed. And that shed is going to be right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the log cabin that I built in the Log Cabin Academy. I'm going to use it for a little log outbuilding. So I'll call this one the log shed that I'm going to build first. And then down there, after I get the retaining wall, and I'll build a foundation at the same time for the writer's cabin down at that end. And so in order to take care of all this spreading out of the rock so that I could get a good look at it, I had my friend come in with his piece of heavy equipment in order to move it around. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share another module within the Bootstrap Building Academy. There are 20 modules within that on how to save serious money in the construction of your home. And one of them is basically avoiding as much as possible the use of heavy equipment. So let's tune into that now. Well, welcome back to the Bootstrap Building Academy. On today's module, we're going to talk about saving money by not spending it on heavy equipment. You don't really need that much heavy equipment in order to build a home. The first 3 homes that I built for myself, the first one as a novice at the age of 20, the second one using entirely salvaged materials in the hills of Tennessee, and the third one, which was a fairly substantial home, 3,000 square feet, and that was after 4 or 5 years of me being a professional licensed contractor for a living. All 3 of those homes, not once did I rent any equipment, nor throughout my 30 years of being a professional builder have I owned much heavy-duty equipment. I have found that heavy equipment is expensive to buy, it's expensive to replace, it's expensive to maintain, to repair, to put it into storage, that individuals other than myself who work for it don't show the proper care and respect for it, that it's a sinkhole, that there's not a whole lot of, when you're operating a business, there's not a whole lot of profit for you. You work hard and $100 goes through your company and you end up with $1. It's not very hard for that $1 to disappear into equipment use, and so I've done my best to avoid owning any heavy-duty equipment, and also I avoid with a passion renting equipment as well. And it's something that I'm seeing more and more today, that when you look online and you see young people that are building their own home, it stuns me the amount of time every time I see them that they're operating some kind of piece of rental equipment from a rental supply yard, some kind of heavy duty equipment in order to help them move material from here to there. And to me, the budget must be absolutely blown through the use of all this rental equipment, that it really isn't necessary, and it's very expensive to do this way. Now, typically, whenever I am in need of something that requires heavy equipment, like say the construction of my driveway here, I hire an individual to come in and to put my driveway in. Someone that owns equipment, someone who does this for a living. I find that they are much more cost effective than me renting a piece of equipment and trying to come somewhat close to the skill level that an equipment operator operates off of. And you know, when I pay someone that operates a piece of equipment, they come in and for say $75 an hour, they operate a dozer in order to create my driveway. They're responsible for the purchase of that, the maintenance of that machine, the fuel, the transportation of it getting to and from. And I know for a fact that I have witnessed that individual have a breakdown on the site where everything that he made in the construction of the driveway, he put right back into repairing the breakdown that he had on my site. And I've talked to the individual, and that sometimes when his equipment is down for a couple of weeks, he is forced to rent equipment. And when he rents equipment, it never fails that the additional cost of renting versus the long-term benefits of ownership, that he actually ends up making nothing on those projects where he's using rental equipment, that he's keeping clients happy, he's keeping himself busy, but all of his money is going toward rental companies. Now, so I have found that yes, indeed, it takes a little bit more effort to move a pile of lumber myself rather than having a forklift rented on the site in order to move that. A lot of times I use my head when it comes time to build a house, and that is that rather than ordering all of the lumber for the house in one big delivery, I will have all of the lumber I need to build the first floor system delivered. And then I will build the floor system, and then I'll order all of the material I need for the walls and for the ceiling next. And the company that delivers it comes in, and they come in with a boom truck, and they will lower all of that material onto the deck that I have built, and it'll be handy there for me to use, and I'll build it. I'll frame out the second floor system, and I'll be ready to put my roof on, and that's when I call to have my rafter and sheathing materials done, and the same company that delivers the material will set it up on top of my second floor system free of charge, because that's what they do. So I didn't have to rent an equipment. I think things through, and I make use of other material, and I save a tremendous amount of money by not having heavy duty equipment. So I guess what's happening is that if you are a professional builder, someone who builds 15 to 1,000 homes at a time, clearly it makes sense for them to have all of the heavy equipment machines, because they move from one unit to another. They have full-time operators who keep these machines constantly busy, and it helps in the production line, assembly line. But if you are building your handmade home, it really makes sense for you to avoid equipment as much as possible. Make smart use of it, think things through, and see what's available for free. Hire professionals who know how to work with the equipment as much as possible. And if it comes down to, say, a select piece of equipment, maybe you need a timber mortising machine if you're putting up a timber frame, and they cost maybe $1,500 for one. I guarantee you can buy one, use it for a while, and then when you're completed, put it up for sale on eBay and get rid of it. Then don't hold on to it forever, and your cost will be minimal compared to, say, renting one. So anyway, I hope you found this of use. Thank you for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you in the next module. You guys take care. Bye now. Well, all right, I hope you enjoyed that module, and the lesson was reinforced to me on the importance of heavy equipment and its considerations, its lack of use, and using a professional for heavier equipment. That lesson was repeated to me here in the fact that my friend that came in with his piece of heavy equipment, he was able to handle everything and charge me a fee for doing it at less than what I could have rented the equipment myself for the day. And I got to admit, he did 2 to 3 times the quality of the workmanship that I could have. His efficiency, his experience at working with it was greatly superior. And if I didn't mention this in the Bootstrap Building Academy module, there's also a safety factor as well with operating heavy equipment. And that a couple of years ago, I lost a dear friend of mine who was my age or a little bit older, who had been operating heavy equipment since he was in his teens, greatly experienced with it, but nonetheless he died in the process of operating heavy equipment. That an accident occurred. Even though he was greatly experienced with this particular piece of equipment, it ended up putting him in the grave. And so that's one more further benefit to hiring out the operation of heavy equipment. If your lack of experience in it, you risk getting hurt in it as well. Anyway, I'd like to close by first of all thanking each of you in joining me in these Handmade House Academy, Handmade House TV videos. You really mean a lot to me that you'd be interested in what this old man has to share. And I would like to also encourage you that you're fully capable of creating your own handmade house. Don't let anything stop you from achieving your dreams. If I can do it part-time, you can certainly do it as well. And before we close, I'd like to thank 5 new members of the Handmade House Guild. I apologize, I've fallen way behind on these, but Sean Phillips, Martin DePhillip, Dave and Jennifer Tingley, Rob Cozier, Michael Alexander, and maybe we'll do one more, Sean Murray. Guys, thank you so much for joining the Handmade House Guild and all that's in that, including the new Bootstrap Building Academy that you can buy separately if you're interested. It's a bargain price. For 20 tips on how you can save a significant amount of money. It alone is a tremendous value, but it's a great example of what you get, and when you're a member of the Handmade House Guild, you get that included with the package. If you want to know more about Bootstrap Building Academy, please visit handmadehouses.com, and there you'll see a link for the Bootstrap Building Academy, which will describe a whole lot more to you what's within that particular package. Anyway, you guys, thank you so much for joining me here on Handmade House TV today, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye now.